호주 커피 종류에 대해서 Can you explain?
As in like what are the most common coffees
common
here in
coffees.
Australia?
Yeah.
Well, I think flat white is one you have to mention, right? So that's an Australian invention. It depends who you ask. So if you're in New Zealand, they'll say that they invented it. If you're in Australia, they'll say that they invented it. It's a bit of a blurred line as to where it first came out, but I think, from my knowledge at least, it's an Australian invention. So the flat white, do you want to get into what the drink is? Yeah, so the flat white is just less foam. It's similar to a latte. We serve it in a porcelain cup though.
그리고 그 다음 이제 우리가 flat white, latte, and cappuccino 또 뭐 있지?
Yeah, so we've got them.
맞아. 그게 다 폼이 달라서 그런 거잖아.
Exactly.
거품 양이.
It's just the amount of
그냥
foam.
똑같은 양의
Yeah.
폼 두께만 다른 거지, 맞지? 그 다음에 블랙, 매직도 있잖아.
Magic. Yeah.
매직은 뭐지? 매직은
Yeah, magic's one of those things where depending on where you go, which cafe, so what a magic is to us at Axel Coffee Roasters is it's a double ristretto, so a double espresso but it's been cut short. It's topped up with 5 ounces of milk. So 1 ounce of double ristretto, 5 ounces of flat white milk.
그냥 strong flat white 같은 느낌이지.
Originally created by Seven Seeds, originally invented the magic, and they created it as basically like the ideal ratio between coffee and milk. And from my knowledge, I think when they created it, it was a 5 ounce drink. So 1 ounce of coffee, 4 ounces of milk.
몰랐어 세븐시드가 만든 건지. 그리고 블랙은 short mag, long mag, long black, espresso, double espresso.
Yeah, exactly.
메뉴로 생각한다면.
La Macchiato is Australian as well.
Oh yeah, right.
That was invented by Australians, so they took the short mac essentially, doubled the amount of coffee and added water to it.
맞아. 근데 물을 안 주는 데도 있더라. 그러니까 물을 안 붓는 데도 있더라고. 근데 어쨌든 우리는 엑실은 물을 넣고 그 다음에 더블 에스프레소 넣고 폼 넣고.
Exactly.
그치. 그리고 숏맥도 똑같은 거고. 싱글 에스프레소에 우유 붓는 거.
Exactly.
그리고 난 이게 되게 헷갈렸어 처음에. 아이스 커피 하면 한국은 아이스 라떼 생각한단 말이야. 근데 여기는 아이스 커피 하면 위드 아이스크림이잖아. 그게 좀 다른 것 같아. 한국은 그냥 아이스 커피 하면 아이스 아메리카노 그리고 뭐였지? 아이스 라떼 이렇게 있거든. 여기는 앤서니 덜라스 씨는 사람을 뽑잖아요. 그러니까 사람을 뽑을 때 어떤 거를 제일 많이 봐. 그러니까 트라이얼을 할 때나 뭐 인터뷰를 할 때 뭐를 제일 중점적으로 보는지.
For me, I think one of the most important things is personality. You know, like you obviously want to be working with good people. We've had plenty of people apply for Axel, and some of them have gotten through and they've actually gotten jobs. But let's say their personality isn't, our fit. They might be a little bit too arrogant, or they feel like they've got nothing more to learn, or they've got old habits that they don't want to change. So that can make things tough later on. So for me, and as a whole, we're generally looking for people who have good personalities and good potential to learn as well.
그러면 만약에 그 사람이 커피를 못해. 그래도 만약에 퍼스널리티가 좋으면 뽑힐 수도 있는 거야?
Yeah, exactly.
진짜?
It never used to be that way. Like we used to only hire people with it used to be really hard to get a job in specialty coffee. You used to have 2 years of experience and had to have a certain level of skill behind you. But I think especially since COVID, we've learnt that we can't expect rock stars to come in for interviews all the time, and we've had to open up, I suppose, our standards a bit and focus more on personality and people that we can train, right? Because you can teach anyone how to make coffee with the right personality.
맞아. 어느 정도의 그러니까 그것도 좀 걱정이었거든. 그러니까 나는 원래 여기 올 때 커피를 배우지도 않았었고 한국에서 커피 경험도 없었고 이제 여기서 이제 커피를 배우고 시작한 케이스인데 그거는 나의 케이스고 근데 만약에 뭐 한국에서 커피를 했다거나 아니면 안 했다거나 어쨌든 여기는 다른 나라잖아. 그러면은 영어 레벨은 어느 정도여야 될지 자기가 생각했을 때.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's only a small selection of vocabulary that you need to function in a cafe, right?
맞아. 쓰는 말만 쓰니까.
Yeah, exactly. So we've hired people before whose English, you know, it might be very limited, and there's going to be situations that arise during work where they might not understand, they might not be able to deal with it themselves, but there'll always be sort of people around them who can help. But I think as long as you can just have really basic conversation, like, hi, how are you?
What can I get for you?
Yeah, exactly. It's probably a good idea if your English isn't very good to at least practice a few of those phrases that might be used in the cafe. Just enough to take orders and, you know, greet people and things like that.
맞아. 인사 잘하고
Yeah.
주문만 실수 없이 받을 수 있으면. 그래서 내가 생각하는 건 뭔가 말을 잘하면 좋지만 보통은 여기 올 때 말을 못하는 사람들이 더 많잖아. 또 한국 사람들은 샤이하니까. 내 생각에는 좀 잘 들을 줄만 알아도 그러니까 말하는 연습도 중요하지만 그거를 실수 없이 듣는 연습도 해야 될 것 같아. 내가 생각했을 때 그게 더 중요한 것 같아. 만약에 카페에서 일하고 싶으면 뭐 내가 아무리 말을 하고 싶은 말을 할 줄 알아도 사람들 얘기를 못 알아들으면 주문 같은 거 실수할 수도 있으니까. 맞죠?
Exactly.
딱 그 정도의 레벨이면 좋을 것 같다, 그치?
Yeah, I think too getting used to the Australian accent as well, because you know how difficult that was for you right when you first started. So yeah, even if you might know how to say certain things in English, but if you've learnt with American English, it's very different to hearing an Australian speak to you with saying the same things, right?
그래, 맞아. 약간 그런 거 있었잖아. 내가 자기한테도 예전에 말했을걸? 냅킨이 여기는 서비스잖아.
맞아.
그러니까 서비해달라고 하는데 서비에시 먼저 오는 거야.
Exactly.
약간 그런 거. 그런 게 힘들었던 것 같아. 처음에 그런 게 조금 겁났던 것 같아. 무슨 말을 쓰지? 어떤 거를 외워가야 되지? 처음에는 영어를 못하니까 막 어떤 걸 외워가야 되지? 나는 제 트라이얼 가기 전에 그러니까 악실 같은 경우는 뭐 커피만 바리스타 잡만 하지만은 보통 카페들은 뭐 서빙도 해야 되고 뭐 주문도 받아야 되고 그러니까 일이 나눠져 있지 않다 보니까 내가 주문을 받거나 가서 주문을 뭐 이렇게 메뉴 같은 걸 한 번에 들어서 알아야 되니까 그래서 나는 가기 전에 메뉴를 다 보고 갔어. 거기 있는 메뉴를. 그랬던 거 같고.
I think a lot of places too, especially if you don't have enough coffee skill to jump behind the machine, they'll start you ordering.
맞아. 그거부터 시작하지. 레주메는 어떻게 쓰면 좋을까? 자기야. 그냥 경험만? 내가 호주에서 경험이 만약에 없어. 그럼 어떻게 쓰면 좋을까?
I think cover letters are a good thing. If there's, you don't have to do it for everyone. And I think when you're applying for jobs, it's good to focus on quantity, right? And then send your resume out to as many people as possible, because there's no guarantee, right? But if there's a few places that you're really interested in working in, I think it's good to have a cover letter and sort of introduce yourself personally to that company and why you want to work for them. I think
좋은 것 같아. 여기는 커버레터를 적을 수 있으니까 약간 나에 대해서 자기소개서 같은 걸 적을 수 있으니까.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I really want to work for Axel for these reasons. You know, I love this particular store, and I've always had a good experience there, or whatever it might be. Just something to help them know that okay, you're not just another person applying for 100 jobs. You know, you don't care where you end up working, right? I think pictures are good too. You know, just like a simple photo of yourself, or just something to separate yourself from the other applicants. You used to apply in person, right? Like you'd go and you'd hand your resume out to people. But now that is all done online. There's nothing to separate you from everyone else. You know, it's just another piece of paper, another document. So I think if you can have a little photo of yourself, that's always a nice idea. And keep it to one page as well.
맞아. 다 읽지는 않으니까 전부 길게.
Yeah.
그리고 좋은 방법은 그런 것도 있는 것 같아. 경험이 없어도 내가 배우면서 연습했던 뭐 아트 그림 같은 거나 사진 같은 거나
Yeah.
어차피 트라이얼 오면 얘가 못하는 사람인지 잘하는 사람인지 한 번 보면 아니까.
Yeah, exactly.
그래도 이제 내가 뭐 커피를 배웠다거나 커피를 했었다거나 한국에서
Yeah.
그런 사진들도, 그러니까 내 사진도 중요하고 그런 뭐 푸어한 사진도 있으면 좋을 거는 같아.
Yeah.
여기서 경험이 없었어서
Yeah.
그냥 뭐 3개월 이런 식으로 약간 거짓말했어.
Yeah, I don't see there being anything wrong with that. You're not lying about your level of skill, right? You just like adjusted how your experience, the length of experience.
그러니까 뭐 한국에서
Yeah.
뭐 어느 정도 했고,
Yeah.
뭐 3개월 일했고 여기서 3개월 일했어 이런 식으로 사실 거짓말을 하긴 했어. 그러니까 그때는 더 일이 구하기가 힘들었을 때여가지고
Yeah, right. Yeah.
경험이 없으면 아예 안 뽑아줬으니까.
Yeah.
근데 왜 그렇게 해서 그 뭐지? 레주메에선 통과했는데 당연히 카페에서 일을 안 해봤으니까 가보면 일을 못해. 그래서 많이 떨어졌었거든 처음에. 그러고 그랬던 것 같아.
Yeah.
그래서 어쨌든 레주메는 좀 솔직하게 적되 본인을 좀 어필하고 그런 사진들도 넣고 하면 좋을 것 같아.
Yeah, exactly. You want to represent yourself accurately, right? Like you don't want to give the impression that you have more skill than you actually do. I don't think there's anything wrong in your case in increasing your experience a little bit, right? You're not saying like you're a master barista or anything like that.
그렇게는 안 했으니까.
Yeah.
맞아. 그러면은 요즘에는 막 이렇게 카페 가면서 막 저 일 좀 구하는데 일 구하시나요? 이런 거는 요즘은 잘 안 하지.
Not really.
거의 조라로컬,
Yeah.
뭐 페이스북.
It's still good to do that though. Like if there's a few cafes you really want to work at, it's still good to go in store with a physical copy of the resume. Because in a lot of cases, what they might do is they'll get you to make coffee behind the bar on the spot. So if you go in when they're not too busy, say like before the lunch rush or after the lunch rush, they might say, okay, cool, can you jump behind the machine and make me 2 lattes? And they'll get you to make some coffee, and then when they talk to their manager, they say, hey, we had this person apply for their job, they made some coffee, this is what their skill level was like. And then at least they've got a bit more information. Yeah.
그래서 그러면은 트라이얼 가면 악실에서 뭐 해? 그러니까 뭐 하지? 우리는?
Yeah, trial for us. So we have the interview first, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the trial shift. So the interview, we'll generally get them to make 2 coffees. And during that interview, we'll get them to assess the coffee that they've made. So we'll say, can you make 2 lattes? Okay, out of 10, what would you score these coffees? Would you score them a 1 out of 10? Do you think they're horrible? Would you score them a 10 out of 10? Are they perfect? And then we listen to what they score them. And we're not looking for 10 out of 10s. We're looking for people who accurately understand their level of skill. Right?
그리고 왜냐면 다른 작은 카페들은 사실 그냥 뭐 커피 만들어봐.
Yeah.
뭐 플랫 화이트 하나, 라테 하나, 뭐 카푸치노 하나, 플랫 화이트 하나, 뭐 아니면 소이 커피 만들어봐. 소이가
Yeah.
어려우니까 그런 거를 했었던 것 같아. 그냥 그러고 뭐 언제부터 일할 수 있어?
Yeah.
뭐 아니면 뭐 얼마 받고 싶어?
Yeah.
뭐 그냥 진짜 스몰 카페는 그렇게 했었는데 여기서는 약간 뭐라고 해야 되지? 조금 더 그러니까 스페셜티 커피는 조금 더 좀 딥하게 심도 깊게 인터뷰를 했던 것 같아. 그래서 그런 것도 좀 준비를 해야 할 것 같아. 마음의 준비를. 그치?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's a good note on pay too, because sometimes they'll put you on the spot in the interview and say, oh, how much do you want to get paid?
이게 정말 어려웠어. 나 너한테
Yeah.
물어봤었잖아. 너 뭐 달라고 해야 돼? 막 다른 카페에서 일할 때.
Yeah, so if you're not ready for that question, you might, in the moment, be a little bit shy, and you might say, oh, like $20 will be okay.
It's up to you.
Yeah,
이런
exactly,
식으로.
exactly. So,
어.
yeah, I think it's worthwhile doing some research, so that you understand what average wages, what the minimum wages at least. If you've worked in previous jobs, you can always say, well, this is what I've previously been paid, or I'm looking. You can always ask for a little bit more too, and the worst they can say is no. Like you could say, oh, well, yeah, look, I'm really looking for this pay. But that being said, you know, it's not just about the money. Like, I'm here to learn as well, and I'm here for the opportunity. So, you know, ideally, in a perfect world, I would love this amount of money, but I'm open to consider. Yeah.
아직도 그냥 20불 받고 일하고 17불 받고 일하고 그냥 커피가 좋으니까 어떻게든 일하려고. 근데 조금 더 자신감 갖고 했으면 좋겠어. 일을 구할 때. 너무 한국 사람들은 내가 생각했을 때 나도 그랬으니까 뭔가 샤이하고 그런 거 말하는 거 부끄럽고 그랬던 것 같아 처음에.
So it's all experience, you know. So if you start a job and let's say you've been working there for 1-2 months and you feel that they're underpaying you, you don't have to stay there. You know, you can always move on to something else. And at least you'll have that experience on your resume.
당연히 좋은 곳에서 일하고 싶지만 그럴 수는 없단 말이지. 모든 게 부족하니까. 그러니까 진짜 자기 말대로 조금 뭐 처음 시작할 때 적게 받더라도 경험을 쌓고 아 이렇게 일하는구나 호주에서는 이렇게 뭐 그렇게 해서 경험을 쌓고 난 뒤에 또 옮겨도 상관은 없는 것 같아. 자기가 원하는 목표의 회사를 그러니까 좋은 카페들이 많이 있으니까 여기는. 그래서 나도 그랬던 것 같아. 작은 카페부터 해서.
I think another thing too is don't apply for coffee courses at institutes in the city and things like that, because like there's lots of, if you look up coffee courses in Melbourne, you'll find a lot that are done at like TAFEs or like some coffee schools and like random places in the city, and it'll be like 25 people in a room, you know, they get a certificate at the end but they learn nothing from it.
Actually I thought about that.
So
at that time.
A lot of people do it, and whenever we see someone who attaches one of those certificates to the resume, it means nothing for us because we know that they haven't gotten the right training. So I think I think it's worthwhile looking up a roastery, you know, because there's plenty of roasteries here in Melbourne that offer training, and do a class with them. I think even if you don't get a certificate, you can still put that on your resume, but it's a lot more intimate. It's like 4 to 6 people usually. You'll have the opportunity to actually learn more about Australian coffee and Australian cafes.
근데 왜냐면은 자기 되게 잘한다. 한국 사람들은 뭐 커피 코스, 그리고 호주 커피 코스 치면 그런 다 조그마한 학교들에서 많이 그거를 하잖아. 뭐 영어 수업이랑 같이 한다든지 뭐 커피 뭐 코스에서 그것도 비싸 되게. 싸지가 않아. 그래서 나도 그걸 알아보고 있다가 이제 친구 한 명이 이제 개인적으로 커피 잘 하는 분이 이제 뭐 한다 해가지고 나도 커피를 개인적으로 배워서 한 거였지. 그래서 자기 말대로 그런 것도 좋은 것 같아. 악실도 클래스 같은 게 있잖아. 그러니까 뭐 솔직히 돈은 비슷해. 더 쌀 수도 있고. 그래서 오히려 그런 스페셜티 카페에서 하는 코스들이 있는데 그거를 듣는 게 맞아. 더 나은 것 같아 내가 생각해도.
Because the courses that you get in the city as well, they're very dodgy sometimes, and the stuff you learn isn't correct. So be careful. So you'll learn a lot more learning from a roastery. And that being said too, it's a great way to ask for a job as well. If you've done a class that you've had 2 to 3 hours with a trainer.
맞아. 트레이너가 다 매니저들이잖아 보통은 그 회사에.
They can see your level of skill. They can vouch. You know, so and so was a really nice person. They poured really good latte art. They really want a job. You know, it's a great chance to actually connect with the business you might want to work for. So we've hired people before who have taken classes with us, and they've just been so lovely during the class that we thought, great, we'd love to have you on board. Classes, and you put this in the link if you want in the description, but the best class is Axel Coffee Roasters, the Australian Barista Academy, they do really good classes, and the Espresso School in Clayton. So those are probably my top 3 picks for if you want to get some good training like here in Melbourne. I think one of the biggest things I've noticed too is the workflow, right? It's much higher volume here in Australia, and particularly Melbourne. So I think that's something that could surprise a lot of people if they start working in a Melbourne cafe. They get very overwhelmed because the pace is so much quicker.
맞아. 진짜 빨리빨리 해야 되고 도켓을 다 읽고 빨리빨리 이거를 해야 되는데 그거는 사실 몸에 일하다 보면 몸에 그러니까 익숙해지는
Yeah.
거긴 한데 그래도 처음에 뭐 트라이얼을 갔을 때 30분만 같이 일해보자 했는데
Yeah.
나 그런 적도 있었어. 막 너무 막 이렇게 막 오니까 막 쏟고 이래가지고 떨어진 적도 있었어. 막 커피 막 이렇게 하다가 막 다 흘리고
Yeah.
그 부담
Yeah.
그런 게 있었던 것
Absolutely.
같아. 막 난 못할 거야 이렇게 해가지고 나는 뭐 카페에서 일 못할 거야 막 이런 생각해서 처음부터 포기하고 뭐 커피를 하고 싶은데
Yeah.
그런 걸 먼저 시작하는 영어 조금 늘면
Yeah.
카페 가서 일해야지
Yeah.
이렇게 생각하는 사람들도 있더라고.
Yeah.
약간 사람을 안 만나는 걸 먼저 하고
Yeah.
뭐 카페로 가서 나는 바리스타를 할 거야 이렇게 조금 겁나서
Yeah.
두려워서 그렇게 하는 사람들도 있는데 무조건 일단 나는 좀 부딪히라고 말하고 싶어. 그리고 제일 중요한 거는 떨어지더라도 나는 계속 트라이얼을 갔던 게 당연히 경험이 없으니까 트라이얼이 떨어지지. 근데 그래도 계속 했던 게 연습이 되잖아. 어쨌든 가면 집에 뭐 심 없잖아. 그러니까 뭐 스팀도 쳐보고 푸어도 해보고 그냥 나는 뭐 상처도 받기도 하고 가끔 말 못 알아듣고 이러면 좀 현타도 오고 이랬지만 그래도 가서 연습한다고 생각하자 하고 떨어져도 계속 다녔던 거. 일하면서 늘더라고 일이.
Yeah, exactly.
또 계속 공부하고
Yeah.
그렇게 해서 엑셀까지 들어오게 돼.
Good point.
엑셀